Alright, so this is basically the continuation of the last video of my ongoing series of insomniac thoughts. So, yeah. What is the weather in Fallout games? Like, is it cold, hot, or mild? And to be honest, I really don't care, because this is just me wanting to talk about Any Austin. Any Austin is quite literally one of the best YouTubers that I ever stumbled upon. He basically takes, like, quote-unquote boring topics about, like, labor statistics or, like, meteorology, and basically apply those kinds of things to, like, video games. One of his most popular videos are, he went around, like, different towns in Fallout, like Megaton and, like, other places in DC to, like, calculate exactly where the bombs fell. He is one of the coolest people that I've ever watched on YouTube, and I highly recommend you to go watch, like, any of his videos. They're very entertaining, and he's a funny guy. I'll link his channel in the description below. Yeah, that's literally it. Alright, let's jump into more hypotheticals. Alright, if someone were to stay in college and earn every single degree the college offers, basically getting a bachelor's degree is like the minimum requirement, how long and how much would that even cost? And to go further on that, is that even possible, or does the university have a limit to how many degrees you can get from said school? So let's say, for this hypothetical, I'm a high school senior in Georgia that wants to go to Georgia Tech, right? Now, let's go by this one by one. So basically, US News did the average of tuition to go to college for 2024 to 2025. And this is what they found. For private colleges, average college tuition and fees at ranked colleges is $43,505 just for average tuition. For public out-of-state school, tuition is like $24,513. For public in-state, for ranked colleges, it's $11,011. So that's basically how the average tuition is. And Georgia Tech has around 37 undergraduate majors. I was thinking, like, doing the math here. Okay, let's do the math here. I need a calculator. Let's say $11,000 is for 4 years, right? Times 4. 44,000. That's basically it. For 1 degree. Yeah. Okay, so I was right. Hold on to that number. Times 37. Alright, this is the number. Would be $1,629,628 for 37 majors. For 37 majors. Now, let's do 4 times 37. 148 years. So, let's go back from the top. It would take me to get all 37 majors at Georgia Tech as an in-state Georgia student 148 years and $1,629,628 to complete all 37 majors at Georgia Tech. That's the first part of the hypothetical. And the second part of it. Is that even possible? Or does the university have a limit to how many bachelor's degrees you can get from one university? Because if I want to do this at Georgia Tech, hypothetically, is that even possible? To be spending over $1 million for 37 majors? Because to me, if I want to study more than one topic, why would the university limit me? They would be getting money from me because I want to do that. But would that even be possible? I feel like it would be. I feel like you could hypothetically get every single degree at a college for a bachelor's degree at the minimum. That is such a fascinating hypothetical to me. But anyways, moving on. Let's go to our next hypothetical. Hypothetically, let's say I have a spacecraft, a spaceship, and said, fuck Earth, and I shoot myself into space. Could I live there and essentially be a space pirate, where I travel all throughout space and explore different planets where we never discovered before? And now the inverse. Let's say I own a sailboat or any kind of boat. Could I just live on the ocean and become an explorer and explore different islands that's uninhabited and conquer it for myself? Because if I own my own spaceship and decide I don't want to live on Earth anymore, and I just shoot myself into space, could I just hypothetically give away my Earth citizenship so I can just live in space for the rest of my life and just be a space pirate and just conquer different planets and basically call those planets my home? Or do I have to follow the International Space Station laws where I can't do that? And for the inverse, let's say I own a sailboat, right? That has all the essential things I need. Can I just give up my US citizenship and just live on the sea for the rest of my life? Like going around uninhabited islands and basically conquer it for myself? Or would I have to follow the international water laws? Because do I really need to be a citizen to a country and be loyal to a country? Or can I just like fuck myself off to the ocean or into space and be a pirate? Or am I just forever stuck following international laws? Because pirates are still a real thing, right? Everyone watch Captain Phillips. I think it would be easier to conquer space than it is the ocean. Blackbeard tried it and he got decapitated in South Carolina. Anyways, moving on. Could I move to Africa and become an elephant or wildlife protector? And if so, how would that work? Like, do I need a degree in animal conservation or plant conservation to become a protector of wildlife? Because I know that sometimes people, like, down in, like, places where there's, like, endangered species, I think they hire mercenaries. Oh, let me get to that. To, like, be under contract and basically, like, work with the people already trying to, like, conserve endangered species against like poachers. And hypothetically, if I want to be a mercenary, can I just call myself a mercenary and just become a contract killer? Or would I have to basically join a PMC and just be a mercenary through them? So then that way, if people ever need a contract, I would just be considered a PMC employee and basically doing contracted killings. I have no idea. It just seems like a cool job to have, to just fight against like poachers and stuff like that and just conserve these endangered animals. But yeah, moving on. What percentage of people join the military or any branch for the sole purpose of because Call of Duty inspired them to? Now here's some background information. Because Call of Duty is like a military shooter, they have their own special like thing where they work with wounded veterans called the Call of Duty Endowment. It's basically this organization that works side by side with Call of Duty and Activision Blizzard to like help the veterans who are having tough times, like finding a job after coming back from deployment and basically like trying to prevent like veteran homelessness. That's basically what the organization does. Sometimes they will create a skin in COD multiplayer where people can buy it, or if you're a veteran and you punch in your specific military ID, you can get that skin for free, and 100% of those proceeds go directly to the Call of Duty Endowment to like help veterans. Their biggest partner is USAA. Outside of the Call of Duty Endowment, I am so curious because if Call of Duty has its own endowment fund, clearly Call of Duty must inspire people to go to the military, right? And I'm so curious what that percent is. It has to be a high number, right? But anyways, moving on. So does anything and everything with an IP just become canon in Fortnite? Because if you play Fortnite, I think it's happening this week or it's happening next week, where Sabrina Carpenter is coming to Fortnite. Yeah. You heard me right, as a playable character. And also, Adventure Time and I think Arcane is also gonna come back to Fortnite. So really, from everything from Family Guy to I think South Park and K-pop and anime and now Sabrina Carpenter are all canon within Fortnite's universe. If anything has an IP, it can automatically just be a part of Fortnite's canon, right? Because if you have all of these very famous characters, that essentially means anything that happens within the universe of said character is just canon in Fortnite, right? But anyways, moving on. Where do YouTubers go to make their own specific themes or like music? Because if you ever watched like old Smosh, like Game Time with Smosh, Game Bang with Smosh, Minecraft, they all have their own specific like theme music. Does someone at Smosh just make their own music, or do they just pay someone to make the music for them? Like I said, I'm still learning, so yeah. On TikTok, a really popular trend happened where people shared their most traumatic memories and then dumps candy into a bowl. So here's my question. When are these candy companies gonna come together to create a candy salad and call it Depression Bites or something along the lines to go along with the trend? And the reason why I say this is because there used to be this very popular brand of videos of specifically candy makers on TikTok where they get Skittles and basically freeze dry Skittles in their own like freeze drying machine, right? That were basically like off brand, but now the Skittles company has officially recognized freeze dried candy and made their own line of freeze dried Skittles. So I'm asking directly to the candy makers, even though I don't know why they would watch this video, but whatever. Officially, my question to you is, when are you gonna come out with a collaboration with Skittles, Willy Wonka, and all of these other candy brands to create Depression Bites? Balls in your court, Willy Wonka. I want to see it. Do people in the fast food restaurants inside of the Pentagon have the same security clearance as regular workers in the Pentagon? So I'm saying this because sometimes I would look at Wikipedia pages and I came across the Wikipedia of the Pentagon and I saw that there's a freaking McDonald's and other fast food restaurants inside of the Pentagon. So I'm curious because I'm just saying, like, if you're a regular worker at the Pentagon and you're going and getting lunch with like your coworker at like McDonald's inside of the Pentagon and you're like talking about work and stuff like that, wouldn't it make sense for like McDonald's workers or like Wendy workers or like any restaurant workers inside of the Pentagon to have the same high security clearance as everybody else if they're gonna overhear conversations? How does that even work? Moving on, PMO, just that abbreviation, just PMO. How do anonymous artists or game designers work? Like, do they hire a fall guy to be the face of the person, or do they have a secret account that basically talks for them? Because this has been on my mind since like forever. Local Thunk, the guy who created Blotcho, he's very anonymous. Daft Punk is also very anonymous. Marshmello, the fucking EDM DJ, is also anonymous. How do these people operate? How does one even become anonymous to begin with? Because if I want to go into movie making and I want to be anonymous, how does that even work? I was reading their Wikipedia page about Daft Punk. I came across like the history of Daft Punk, and it basically talked about how in the beginning, when they were just a duo making music together, they weren't anonymous, but as they got more and more popular, that's when they slowly started becoming just fully anonymous, right? That's how Daft Punk did it. But how did guys like Local Thunk and Marshmello start off their career just being fully anonymous? I can understand game development because Local Thunk is the only person that made Blotcho, right? So that can kind of like explain it for himself. But like, what about Marshmello? Marshmello just straight up came out and became popular being fully anonymous. And he even talked about his anonymity, saying like, oh, I wear masks just to create something positive in the world, right? This scratches my brain in the worst way possible, and I don't know how to explain it. Moving on, here's a very funny story for you. I don't know how this conversation came about, but I was talking to my junior year English teacher, and we were talking about animals for some strange reason. And when I asked what kind of animal would I be, she said a pig. And when I asked her why, it's because she said I'm both very lazy but also very hardworking. Because you know, like pigs, they like sniff truffles, whatever. So my junior year English teacher straight up called me a pig. I don't know what to say about that. One of my favorite things to do of all time is mess with people. I really love messing with people. And sometimes it'll go to the point where I piss people off. So you could say that I really enjoy messing with people and sometimes pissing people off. So if you ever watch any of my videos and be like, what the fuck is this person thinking? Or why the fuck would this person say that thing? That's the whole point. That's literally the whole point. And if you saw my Valentine's Day video and you thought to yourself, that's really childish to think about relationships like that, that's the point. That's literally the point. People who use AI voices for any of their videos, like to do a voiceover or to make a thumbnail or to do literally anything, I automatically believe that they sound really shitty, like the way they speak is really fucking stupid, and I really fucking hate it because it feels like it's fucking degrading my mind in the worst way possible. Argue with a wall. I fucking hate the news and how they report on things. Like, I genuinely cannot listen to the news in the car or on the TV at all. It feels like I'm getting a lobotomy just by looking at it or listening to it. And it's okay, I'm allowed to say that because I minored in journalism when I was at school. So only I can say it, but I'm not sure about that. I'm fine with reading it. I'm fine with looking at headlines and reading about it. Now, all Teslas are fucking stupid, and I would never go near a Cybertruck. However, the only Tesla that I'm semi-okay with is the ones with the flat-ish roofs. Those are just semi-normal, but all Teslas, including the flat-ish roof ones, are still fucking stupid. Argue with a wall. Why are some names gender neutral but others aren't? Is it because there are gender specific variants of said name? Now, for example, Mikey. Mikey can be a guy's name, but you also have Mikey Madison, the woman, and you also have Alex the guy, or Alex the girl, or Chase the guy, or Chase the girl. Why are some names gender neutral but others aren't? Because if Mikey, Alex, and Chase are all gender neutral names, why are those names gender neutral but others aren't? Do you get my drift? If someone names their child Alex and they know that it's gonna be a guy or a girl or whatever, why name an Alex? Why is Zach a guy's name? Why is Claire a girl's name? Why are there names that are specifically boy names or specifically girls' names, but Alex can be both a guy and a girl? Why are some people naming their child a gender neutral name? Is it just to be more like progressive? Or is it just easier to name someone with a gender neutral name? Because if I hypothetically have a daughter and I name her Alex, that can also stand for Alexandria. But if I have a son and I name him Alex also, his full name can be Alexander, right? That's very interesting also, because Mikey Madison, like, she can use the full name Mikey. But if you want to name a guy Mike, he can also go by Mikey. So really, some names can be straight up gender neutral, like Alex, because you can have Alexandria or Alexander, right? Some names like Mikey, it's more gendered while still being gender neutral. Gender neutral names are very fascinating to me, and I can't explain why. They just very are. Alright, this is going to be the last one. I am not interested in celebrities at all. I look at celebrities like they're like everybody else. The only difference is that they have very quirky and untraditionalist jobs compared to like a normal person, right? That being said, what do they do all day? Like, morning comes because it's currently nighttime. What then? Like, what do they do? Like, do they just treat it like everyone else with like breakfast in the morning? Or do they just like go to set and then do their job? Or do they just wake up on set? One of my biggest pet peeves about blank celebrity does like their schedule routine or whatever. I hate those kinds of videos because it's just very, very artificial, right? And it doesn't really explain what they do all day. Because let's say like Pedro Pascal. What does Pedro Pascal do every single day? Like tomorrow morning. What is Pedro Pascal doing tomorrow morning? I know he's gonna be promoting The Last of Us a lot, so he's probably gonna be doing that. But for the rest of the day, what is he doing? Is he just like answering emails, or is his PA answering emails, or is he writing his own movies, directing his own movies, accepting scripts from directors to act in movies? Like, what does Pedro Pascal do every single day? Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks from now.